Alright, Shalom. First, I'd like to give all praises unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Waharakah, Kodash, and double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and honors to you brothers out there in the highways and the byways teaching this word in all sincerity and in truth. And this is Isaiah the 8th chapter and the 20th verse. It says, to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. Alright? Everything you do is gotta be in accordance to this word, man. Your doctrine has to be the perfect doctrine, which is in accordance to the Holy Bible. Alright? Through the Spirit. Alright? In agreement with Yahweh Shai, who you may ignorantly know as Jesus, who is the light. Alright? He is that light. The scriptures tell you that he is the light. Now here it is, you got Christianity, which professes to represent the Messiah of the Bible. But what you're going to find out is that Christianity is a falsehood. It's counterfeit. Okay, Christianity is not in agreement. The doctrine of Christianity and the ways of Christianity is not in agreement with the Holy Scriptures. It's not in agreement with the Messiah, Yahweh Shai. It's not in agreement with the Most High. Alright? Case in point, the so-called Christian holy days. Now, Christians, these are the holy days that Christians celebrate. And you're going to see that none of these are in the Bible. Alright? Advent, it's not in the Bible. All Saints Day, it's not in the Bible. All Souls Day is not in the Bible. Ash Wednesday is not in the Bible. Christmas is not in the Bible. Easter is not in the Bible, but the Passover is, and we're going to come back to that. Easter Monday is not in the Bible. All right? Epiphany is not in the Bible, which, by the way, the Most High did not incarnate himself as who you call Jesus. All right? The Father and the Son are two separate entities. All right? The Son was created. The Father has no beginning and no end. All right? The Feast of Corpus Christi, that's not in the Bible. The Feast of Annunciation, that's also not in the Bible. The Feast of Ascension is not in the Bible. The Feast of the Assumption is not in the Bible. The Feast of the Divine Mercy is not in the Bible. The Feast of the Holy Innocents is not in the Bible, okay? The Feast of the Immaculate Conception, well, not only is the Immaculate Conception not in the Bible, but this feast is not in the Bible. The Feast of Presentation, not in the Bible. The Feast of the Sacred Heart, not in the Bible. Gregorian New Year, definitely not in the Bible. Lent, which is 40 days of penance before Easter, not in the Bible. Palm Sunday, first of all, Sunday is not in the Bible. This whole thing is not in the Bible. The day of Pentecost. Pentecost is in the Bible, but them celebrating it, the actual term Pentecost is in the Bible, but them celebrating it, that's not in the Bible. Shrove Tuesday, not in the Bible. Sunday, Sabbath, it's not in the Bible because there is no Sunday or Saturday in the Bible, okay? So what you find out is that all these feast days of Christianity are actually not in the Bible. And Christians don't celebrate any feast day which is actually in the Bible according to how it says in the Bible. Case in point, let's look at Easter. Okay, now the word Easter is translated into the Bible, but the word Easter is actually from the Babylonian or goddess Ashtar. All right, which is where you get the whole, around Easter time, they got the rabbits laying eggs and all that kind of stuff. Now, if you actually go to where it's translated in the English as Easter, in the Greek the word you'll find there is actually, where are we? Did I click on the right? No, I didn't. Oh, yeah, I did. There you go.
Strong's G 3957. Pascha. Pascha.
Right. Which goes back to the Hebrew word Pasak, which is the Passover. So when you see the scriptures mentioning Easter, it's not Easter. It's actually the Passover, and how you keep the Passover and who can keep the Passover is recorded in the scriptures in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, if you want to read it, and other various scriptures. Only Israelites can keep the Passover. All right. You have to be an Israelite to keep the Passover. And now you really keep the Passover in the spirit of Yahweh Shai. All right. All right. So none of the high holy days that were actually mentioned in the Bible, these Christians don't keep them. So they don't keep the new moon, which is a Sabbath. They don't keep the seventh day Sabbath, which comes in every seventh day, the first day of the month, beginning with a new moon. Then you do 6 days working after that. Then the seventh day after that is a Sabbath, and so on and so forth until the new moon comes again. So they don't keep the Sabbath. They don't keep the new moon. Okay, they deal with the Sunday, which Sunday is not in the scriptures. Sunday goes back to sun worship, right? All these different days of the week, Saturday, Sunday, that goes back to paganry. All right. They don't keep the Passover. They keep some pagan feast they call Easter, but they don't keep the Passover. How do we know they don't keep the Passover? Because at Easter, they don't keep the feast of the unleavened bread. Unleavened. All right. That's what the Passover is. The Passover is the feast of the unleavened bread, which, by the way, the Lord himself kept all these holy days. But these people claim to be trying to be like the Messiah, but they're not doing the things that the Messiah did. All right. Purim. And I've purposely not put where these are in the scriptures, because if you don't know about these holy days, maybe you're a Christian or something, it's time to wake up. Now it's up to you to go and look this up for yourself. All right. We're not going to always spoon feed everything to you. If you don't know about the Passover, I suggest you get to know. I suggest you open up your Bible, you go to the book of Exodus and you read it. If you don't know about the book of Purim, I suggest you get to the Google, find the scriptures and read them. All right. You also got the Feast of the First Fruits, the Feast of the Tabernacles, the Day of Atonement, the Feast of Dedication, which is actually recorded in the book of Maccabees, which is part of the Bible, and it's mentioned in the New Testament, the Feast of Dedication, the memorial blowing of trumpets, Hanukkah, the Day of Simon, and Day of Nicator. All right, these feast days, these holy days are actually mentioned in the Bible, but Christianity does not reverence any of these days. They got their own days, which is not in agreement with the scriptures. And not only that, the two main days that they have, I mean, all of these are blasphemous, but the two main days that they have are actual pagan feast days that they converted into Christianity. Now, you can't convert that which is unclean to that which is clean. You can't take a pagan day and try and turn it into something which is of the Lord. It just doesn't work like that. Okay? Right, so what I wanted to do was touch on the Passover, because you got these people talking about Easter, but when we go into the scriptures, the Greek word where it mentions Easter once is actually Passover. Okay, you see there Pascha. You go to it and you'll see that it's Passover throughout the scriptures, but then in one particular scripture they decided to translate in the word Easter. because by then they had already assumed that pagan practice. All right, so they substitute. Here we go in Acts 12:4. All right, now the Passover is kept in a particular way. You know, you got the Passover lamb. You know, like I said, I want you to go and read the account for yourself. But just to show you, Yahweh Shai himself kept the Passover. In fact, he was crucified on the Passover. In fact, he was born on the Passover, all right? Because he is the real Passover, all right? He's the new Passover. He is the sacrificial lamb. And through his blood, we are redeemed, just as how it was in Egypt. Okay, so it's all goes hand in hand. Now, Matthew the 26th chapter and 18, and he said, go into the city to such a man and say unto him, the master saith, my time is at hand, I will keep the Passover at thy house with my disciples. Right? And the disciples did as Yahweh Shai had appointed them, and they made ready the Passover. Now when even was come, he sat down with the 12, because the Passover begins when? In the evening. The new day begins in the evening. That's another thing that is not in Christian doctrine, because they're not according to the Bible. So they sat down in the evening because the Passover begins at eve. And like I said, go to Leviticus 23rd chapter, read it, and you'll see exactly when at evening and what day it begins. All right, which is a number, by the way. Okay, now, and as they did eat, he said, verily I say unto you that one of you shall betray me. And they were exceeding sorrowful, and began every one of them to say unto him, Lord, is it I? Now, I want to jump down to the point. And as they were eating, Yahushua took bread, right, and this would have been unleavened bread, and blessed it and break it. And because why unleavened? Because if you know the rules of the Passover, you had to eat unleavened bread. You got the Passover night, and then you got the 7 days, which makes up the feast of unleavened bread. All right. It says and gave it to the disciples and said, take it, this is my body. And he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, drink ye all of it, for this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. But I say unto you, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine until the day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. All right. So that's it right there. Now I also want to jump to Corinthians, is it? Cross-reference. Give me. All right, let me get the account from Luke 22. I was going to get the one from Corinthians, but let me get Luke 22. All right, Luke 22 and 19, it says, and he took bread and gave thanks and brake it and gave unto them, saying, this is my body which is given for you. This do in remembrance of me. Now, this bread that is being broken is the unleavened bread of the Passover. So when you keep the Passover now, not only do we remember Egypt, but we also got to remember Yahweh Shai, who is the new Passover. So these cats that are keeping what's known as the so-called Holy Communion, they're going off because, you know, with the Eucharist and all that stuff, because the feast that the Lord was having when he made that statement, all right, you called it the Eucharist, is that Christian, right? They were keeping the Passover, man. So this is all going off. The Lord's Supper was actually a Passover, which we're supposed to be keeping. And even here it tells you in the Wikipedia it was a Passover meal. All right. So they made up all this Eucharist stuff and all. That's not in the scriptures, man. That's not in the scriptures. All right. Let's get 1 Corinthians 11 and 24. When he had given thanks, he brake it and said, "Take, eat, this is my body, which is broken for you. This do in remembrance of me." All right, and this is the Passover bread, the unleavened bread. After the same manner also he took the cup when he had supped, saying, "This cup is the New Testament in my blood. This do ye as oft as ye drink it in remembrance of me," which is once a year. All right, that's when the Passover comes round, and we actually do that, unlike these Christians. "For as often as ye eat this bread and drink this cup, ye do shew the Lord's death till he come," and that's the Passover. All right, and Paul kept the Passover after the Lord's passing, which shows you we're still supposed to keep the holy days. All right, see, these Christians ain't got no problem making up their own madness, but when it comes to keeping that which is of the Lord, they got a problem about it, man. Let me find it. All right, so this is it. "And he came to Ephesus and left them there, but he himself entered into the synagogue and reasoned with the Jews. And when they desired him to tarry longer time with them, he consented not, but bade them farewell, saying, I must by all means keep this feast that cometh in Jerusalem, but I will return again unto you, if God will. And he sailed for Ephesus." So we're supposed to keep the feast. All right? Not these fake holidays that these Christians make up. Christianity is nothing more than corruption and perversion. All right, and that's why when we bring out the scriptures, man, Christianity gets broken down, because Christianity is nothing more than one of those strongholds that the scriptures speak of, man. All right, let's get to it. 2 Corinthians 10 and 4. "For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds." Because Christianity is just one of the strongholds of Satan in this world. Christianity is nothing more than darkness. And that's why Christians are in the dark. I mean, what do they know? They don't understand the scriptures. They don't even understand the things which are going on in the world, period. All right, that's why they can be deceived by this devil at every turn. Now, if you had the light of the Lord, you wouldn't be deceived. You would see through the darkness. But you're all in the dark. You don't know what's going on, man, on any level. Most Christians don't even, a lot of these guys don't even know 9/11 was an inside job. They don't know anything, man. They just out there, shrouded in darkness, man. All right. Easily deceived by this devil at every turn, because the light of the Lord isn't with them. All right, casting down imaginations. Okay, Christianity is imaginations, man. Vain imaginations that everyone can be saved and all this BS. The Lord loves everybody. That's a vain imagination. That gets casted down at camp weekly. Every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of God. Christianity and these priests of Christianity, they exalt themselves against the knowledge of the Most High while holding a Bible in their hand, or even reading the Bible, because they'll read certain Bible verses but with no understanding, and they will use the Bible to deceive. That's crazy. That's why a lot of the times we bring information out the Bible, Christians are like, that's not in the Bible. What book are you reading? Because they don't even know the scriptures, man. And bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Hamashiach. All right, so Christianity is one of the major strongholds, and not just Christianity, all these false philosophies and religions, man, and systems. They're strongholds because they captivate the minds of the people. And we break those strongholds down, not through the sword, not through going around, because first of all, you can go and burn down a temple, right? That's not going to stop the doctrine or the belief that people have in that false way. All right? What we're doing is bringing out the scriptures, man, and spiritually breaking down these strongholds, man, and setting the captives free, the ones who the Lord wishes to be delivered. All right? You can't force a man by the sword to turn away from a false way, because he might turn away from that way through fear of the sword that you put to him. But as soon as you put that sword away, really in his mind, he hasn't really changed. He will pretend to you that he's changed. So we don't go out there, and that's why we don't go out there beating people up and trying to force people to believe. No. We just teach the word, and we break down we break down their philosophy before their very eyes, and that's why they get angry, and that's why they want to put hands on us, because they can't. Their doctrine gets cut. They get cut to the spirit, to the bone, and you see that happen. Different camps every week when these Christians or these Muslims or whoever comes up to the camp, they get cut down with the word, man. They can't cast us down. No Christian can come to the camp and cast us down. You know why? Because what we teach is in agreement with the scriptures. So how can the scriptures fight against us? How can you use the scripture to fight against us when we're coming with the scriptures, man? We're one with the scriptures. No, we use the scriptures to fight against you, and you are defeated, man. All right, and there's plenty of examples of that. All right, so with that, I'm going to say shalom.